NASCAR hasn't even run a street race yet. We're not even to 2023, and there's already rumor and talk and push for another. So this was reported by Adam Stern earlier tonight as of recording this, where he had tweeted this. Vegas president and CEO Steve Hill thinks that there's a possibility to host a future NASCAR street race on the Strip, among other events, if F1 Las Vegas goes well. And he says, in quote, "I think that it would be something that everyone involved would at least have some interest in discussing." So right now, right off the bat, I'm going to say I know this isn't going to be a popular thought among NASCAR fans. NASCAR fans have already been pushing back against the Chicago street course as is, and I don't think that doing it somewhere else like Las Vegas will make them any more inclined to like the idea. It's realistic. I mean, F1's doing a street race, so you have at least a course or some kind of course to base your race off of if you're NASCAR, but is this something that needs to be done? I would say this to start off with. If you're going to have a Las Vegas street race, don't do it while the Chicago street race is still going. Give F1 a couple of years to see if this thing pans out. Because let's be honest, if F1 can't draw in a crowd for Las Vegas, who says that NASCAR is going to be able to long term? This isn't something you want to oversaturate. You want to do one at a time so you know exactly what you're doing. I know there's talk about having a street race in Denver, going international, and probably having some in Canada or Mexico or maybe any other country. But I think that this is something that NASCAR cannot go headfirst in without having some data behind it every time they do it. Listen, the Chicago street race and the LA Clash doing well, this has opened up the possibilities of doing something like this. Because I would say, especially with the LA Clash, before that happened, many of the pushes west were just to make your own track. Look at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which I think a lot of people would say they would rather go to than a street road course. But this also helps NASCAR's West Coast push. NASCAR has been pushing big time to get more and more of a presence on the West Coast, a market that has shown an openness to NASCAR in the past and has a pretty rich car culture in general when you look at it, but at the same time is not known as NASCAR country. You see the Los Angeles Clash, like I talked about, had tons of people in the LA Coliseum, and a lot of people watched on TV as well. Then you have the fact that they're changing the Auto Club Speedway to a short track. That is going to be something else that is a big change to try and bring more hardcore NASCAR fans in. And, of course, you have the West Coast swing in general. NASCAR has been pushing at stuff like this for years, and to be able to get into a famous area of a city like the Strip is for Las Vegas is something that NASCAR won't pass up on if they see an openness, which I don't think these comments would be made if NASCAR hadn't shown an openness to do so beforehand. Remember, NASCAR used to have their award ceremony in Las Vegas, and they had burnouts on the Strip at times, and they had different parades, different celebrations, stuff like that, and it was relatively well attended from what all people and all accounts have been said about it. But this would be a big event that NASCAR would add. And what I've noticed in the last couple years is that NASCAR has been going for big splash moves, adding different events to try and get a bigger audience, even if it's for 1 year, and then they get a smaller one later, in order to kind of boost or in a way kind of amplify their TV ratings without necessarily getting more popular. A big move like that, like a race like this, for instance, like an Atlanta Superspeedway, like an LA Clash, will get people to check it out of sheer curiosity, but long-term might not be the biggest plan. So that might be what NASCAR's looking at right here, especially seeing how if this happens and they're able to do this, it would be in the next contract. They're going to need to impress a lot of those partners that might be old or new that are coming aboard too. And listen, I think that this could replace a Las Vegas race, as in Las Vegas Motor Speedway race. And there's a bit of a precedent here. For instance, Texas Motor Speedway was a speedway that many thought, because of what was said in the past, would never be reduced from the 2 races that it has had since 2005. Yet, it has been done, and Circuit of the Americas is on the schedule because of it. And COTA has brought in great crowds both years for NASCAR standards. Another big event to raise NASCAR's status as well in the playoffs would be a big move, as it would bring a lot of eyes that might have just completely given up on NASCAR for the year away from the NFL for a week, especially if it's coming down to the championship battle and they can get some intrigue there maybe. So I would think if a Las Vegas race does get replaced, I think that it's going to be the one that's in the playoffs. The one that is with 3 or 4 races to go, where you can have those new eyes come in and then see, oh, well, you don't have to have a huge commitment if you want to see what happens at the end. You only have to be here for 2 or 3 more weeks. I think that if you look at what Las Vegas has had, low attendance has been the name of the game. They've been tearing out seats nonstop in the last couple years, and it hasn't got much better, especially for that second race. The second race, even with great racing, which is, I think, what a lot of fans will talk about too. The intermediate track racing is good, but even with that good racing, the attendance and just the overall prestige of the second Las Vegas race on the schedule has not stuck around for fans. Fans did not ask for it. Fans did not want it. And maybe if all the sponsors line up with it, because I know there are deals long-term to have 2 Las Vegas races, maybe this could be an option long-term, as if the second Las Vegas Motor Speedway race doesn't work out, you have a backup plan and something that would probably bring a lot of people at least the first year. And it's really interesting that earlier this week, rumors came out about the fact that stage racing might be vastly changed at road courses, which is almost certainly what the street race at Las Vegas would be, a road course. So it's really interesting how that all comes together. And listen, like it or not, this is going to be the future for NASCAR. NASCAR is going to be pushing to do more street races and bring the product to the fan instead of them having to drive out 45 minutes to an hour from a major market. Look at the Nashville Superspeedway, for instance. That place only seats 40,000, and this past year they couldn't sell that out. And it's in a large part because it is in a small infrastructure area outside of the city. So people have to leave their big metropolitan areas, whereas you got a big city like a Nashville, like a Chicago, like a Las Vegas, people, tourists in general, can all be able to go to it. But you look at the way that NASCAR's been pushing into bigger markets and bigger cities, and this is a trend that many just need to notice now. For instance, you look at Chicago. They're pushing for the street race instead of the Chicagoland Speedway, a track that has proven in recent years to have really good racing. You look at Nashville. The Nashville Superspeedway is outside of there and has at least a small good following, but at the same time, when you have the Nashville Fairgrounds, a track that is literally 10 minutes away from Broadway, well, why would you not go to that? And of course, they're thinking that, and SMI and Bristol Motor Speedway and NASCAR are pushing for that. Look at, for instance, Los Angeles. Los Angeles has the LA Coliseum hosting the Clash. It's a new idea. It's something that Ben Kennedy and Steve Phelps would call bold and innovative, and it's something that they're going to do because it brought in a new audience. Look at Austin, Texas, for instance. Austin, Texas is a place a lot of young people are moving, and you have Circuit of the Americas. I was at that first race in 2021. That was probably the youngest NASCAR audience I've ever been a part of in being a fan for the last 15 to 20 years. Look at, for instance, St. Louis. They have Gateway that is just outside the city, but honestly, really not that far. You can see the St. Louis Arch from the track. And then, of course, with Las Vegas, you would have a street race on the Strip. It all fits together really well, and it fits the real mold of where NASCAR is going at this point, becoming a touring series that just goes to the big market events. That's really what I think of this, and I think that long term, this is going to be more and more normal to see in NASCAR, and hardcore fans, unfortunately, if you don't like it, which I got to admit, I'm not too crazy about the street racing, road course push in general anymore, we're just going to have to get used to it. But that's just my thoughts. Overall, I want to hear what you think about this. Do you think a Las Vegas street race on the Strip would work? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content and news and everything over the offseason like this. Thank you to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.